Pay your people better. April 3rd, 2026. I wanted to say March. Ugh, get up in here. Come on. The finagling. The finagling that one has to do in order to make this work. Alright, come on. Ugly face. He's so ugly. Get him out. Get him out of my sight. Oh, there we go. That should help. Not much. That's for fucking sure. Alright. So last night, I had, they're in the trash, I don't like them, but like, this thing was full with beans, and it had a little bit of bacon in it too. It still has a little bit of bacon, I think. But I was like, well, let's eat as much of this as possible. And then when I stopped eating it, I also had this cheese that had been sitting out for a while, because I think I was just going to eat the cheese as cheese. And I forgot. So I put it back in the fridge and like, whatever. I'll mix it in with this after I heat it up. Just got back from the ENT. And so far, a little eczema in my ears, which seems pretty typical, I would think, because of the fact that Los Angeles is so dry. Well, at least my water pressure is okay at the moment. Might be able to wash some dishes. Although, my toilet's clogged. And my normal trick of like having soapy water, because like the last place I lived at, the toilet would get clogged maybe, I don't know, once a month. Actually less than that. Maybe once every couple of months, every quarter, every 3 months. But what I would do is I would just, sort of rim it with, so while the water was in there, it was sitting, just on a regular basis, I would rim it with some soap, just a little squirt or two, and then just let it sit there. And then, just, if I had to go later that day, I had to go and then usually be fine. But then if it did get clogged, which is, again, happened pretty rarely, I would just dump some water into it, usually hot water, and that would usually fix it. This case, it ain't seeming to happen for some reason. It just slowly drains down. So I got to get a plunger, which I was hoping to get soon. So I went downstairs just now to see if I get the gift card. And they were like, well, I don't have them yet. Come back on Monday. We'll talk to we're having this meeting, blah, 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 blah. Which, I mean, it's Easter, but at the same time, it's property too. They've got to be able to have, people who actually exist in the building. So, but anyway, I did check my, oh yeah, it does that out there. I would say probably once about every half hour, I'll hear the alarms go off. I'll hear the sirens. They got this as well. This is downtown major metropolitan area. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of potential for injury, crime, whatever. And yet, I still enjoy it. Yeah, there's still some issues that are going on here, but having done my my taxes, I should be getting about $1,500 back. And if you're in one of those, if you're in a position right now where you're like, I don't want to pay my taxes because I don't want this country to be going to war, or I don't want to be paying for ICE or for all the corruption, etc. Okay. Don't pay your taxes. Quit your job. And this isn't like a gotcha. This isn't me saying, well, then just quit your job then. It's like, no, I mean it. I mean, I'm being serious. Don't have a job. Like, start looking into ways to, like, if you don't want to pay into this current system, then have the current system pay into you. You know, get fired from your job. The more people, the better. I know nobody's going to watch this really, but whatever. But May 1st is the general strike for as many people as possible. School, work, whatever. May 1st also happens to be International Labor Day, not American Labor Day, which was at one point called like Patriotism Day or Patriot Day or some shit, because our capitalist masters, as it were, because this country was very much built on slavery, and that mindset of keeping slavery has not gone away. That's why even in this state, in California, probably the most liberal state in America, the most progressive state in America, arguably, some might argue otherwise, but for the most part, when it comes to policy, social services, etc., California is pretty liberal, pretty progressive. Now, of course, it also houses Silicon Valley, and it has Silicon Valley simps and fanboys and the like. And so there's a lot of that going on. And then you also have very rural areas, which coincidentally, rural areas are often tend to lead a lot more conservative, which is an odd coincidence considering where slaves used to be, which is in more rural areas. So even in California, we had a failed ballot measure to get rid of California prison labor. And one of the biggest arguments, and it wasn't just us too, I know that there were other states that were talking about it in one capacity or another, but there were like even senators and shit who were saying like, you know, if we don't use prison labor, that's going to cripple our economy. I'm like, motherfucker, good. Cripple the goddamn economy then. Fuck that noise. We shouldn't, like, yeah, I know, I'm on a $400 phone, and I'm sure it was built with some kind of slave labor. That's not my fault, but I'm doing what I can do. I can't go to fucking, South Sudan if I don't even know where everything's being made, because I've got so much shit going on in my own life. But like, I can't go to where the slaves mine the gold. I can't go where the slaves mine the cobalt. I can't go where the slaves mine the lithium, etc., 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 and then tell the slaves to quit, or tell the slave masters to stop being slave masters, and because like, it's not the same kind of slavery as the chattel slavery we used to have. It's exploitative in other ways. And look at like when Qatar had the World Cup, and the people who were there doing construction, they were there because they thought they had an economic opportunity to go there to make some money building this thing. Their employers are literally taking their passports away from them. Like, the passport isn't even the person's. Like, my passport's not mine. It belongs to the United States of America. It doesn't belong to me. And so if I had an employer in another country take that passport from me, they're not stealing from me. They're stealing from America. But there are other countries where these people were coming from with their passports who are a little bit more lax when it comes to their own possessions. Especially when it comes to the people being treated as possessions. And so, we, as America, still like our slavery. Just like a lot of other countries still like their slavery. It's just that there's some things that we're better at than others. And in some cases, the good things we're not necessarily good at. And the bad things we're really good at. And so, to kind of like have a conversation similar to what was going on in the Uber when I got back from the doctor's office, where I shoved the camera just straight back. It was only like maybe an inch and a half. Like, there was really no need for them to give me a local anesthetic, to be honest. But it is what it is. I was hoping they were going to use the little long one and like go inside my ears and shit. That'd been cool. That's what I was hoping for. Call me crazy, but that's what I was hoping for. But alas. But the guy who was driving me back, he was this younger dude. And he was talking about it's corruption everywhere. And I'm like, that's why you got to get involved. You got to vote. Minimum, you got to vote. But then, he had that like very common, sort of chronically online modus operandi, I guess, where it was like, shut it down, deliver the point, which, I still do to this day. I try not to do it while I'm in person. I do, not because I want to, but because, it's a habit. I've been online for longer than most things in my life. Like, it's one of the few consistencies of my life that I've been online for as long as I have. So, there are habits that I have developed that are not necessarily that great. I do my best to overcome them, but I also get, like, he was in a more privileged position than I was. It's like, he was driving this sweet-ass Mercedes. Now, who owns it? I don't know. But as far as I'm aware, the contracting companies that work with Uber don't usually offer those kinds of vehicles for their drivers. And so, often is the case, when a person claims it's always corruption, or both sides, which is essentially what it was saying too, because that's very much the case. It is a position of privilege. It is a position that a person has that, like, while he didn't specifically say it, because again, the narrative changes significantly enough, and has changed significantly enough in the last decade. I don't have a whole lot of time left on this. But most people don't talk about politics anymore, but they say the same thing in a different way. The message is still the same, the words aren't. The narrative is still the same. And basically it's to say that I'm not going to get involved in politics. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to care about it. It's all corrupt. It's all this. It's all that. They have a problem with the circumstances, but they also don't want to do anything about it, because the reality is they don't actually have a problem with it. They have a problem with a specific sector of people. Like he was talking about the homelessness and how it's all corruption, and there wouldn't be as many homeless people on the streets. That almost sounds like a person who cares about the homelessness, but it's not. It's not a person who cares about the homeless. It cares about the fact that there are homeless people and they're in the way. That's pretty much what it is. The problem exists and it's in my way kind of mentality. And these people could get out of my way if these corrupt people would stop fucking around and taking the money and instead helping these people out. But the thing is it's really not about helping the homeless. It's about helping the person who is having a problem with the homeless. So, what I would say, now that I'm not in the car with him and dealing with his emotional disposition, because unfortunately I'm easily triggered by strong emotions, and so I get defensive instead of, contemplative is that look at yourself. Look, take the perspective, look at all these things, but then turn your vision onto yourself and your life and ask, what can I do to help? And if you're not willing to help, step aside, because there are people who are willing to help, who are helping, and there are people who are in the way. And oftentimes it's the people like him. I used to be one. It's the people like him who are arguing that everybody is doing it wrong. And also has a bit of narcissism in it as well, because then it's like, you're all doing it wrong, I have a better idea. But he's also not going to get involved. May 1st, general strike, pay your people better. Understand that this country and so many others are still trying to operate under a master and slave system. When you see those things, when you see the parallels, things start making a lot more sense. And let your anger radicalize you. Don't let it make you give up. Don't be like me, who has depression and who gives up easily. Let it radicalize you. Let it push you to help others who are actively trying. Look into others who are actively trying. Look into your representatives. He's talking about it needs to be a pure democracy where every single vote matters. Like, there's probably like 15 votes that are happening just today. Maybe not, because it's Good Friday, but still. On a general day, just in your city, there's probably a vote that you're not going to be involved in, because a representative democracy is kind of necessary when you have as many people as you have. But let your anger radicalize you. Don't fall prey to learned helplessness. Have fun.